how would you describe what state sovereignty means?
Okay. Well, I get back to the word sovereign. I mean, it means independent, and there are different definitions out there. But I think there's this fundamental misunderstanding as to how politically our society is set up. The order of our society there's a political order to our society. With the states, we have within the states cities and counties and what are called political subdivisions. So we have political subdivisions of our state of Nebraska. Nebraska, though, is not a political subdivision of the United States of America. I've perceived this within within my own mind, but also speaking with young people. There's this idea, and it's a tangible idea. It's an idea that we can grasp, and it makes sense. There's a certain order to it, that you have the United States, and then under the United States you have the state of Nebraska, and under the state of Nebraska you have a county, and under the county there's a city, and even under the cities you have neighborhoods, and there seems to be an attractive order there, but that's not how we're set up. We are the United States of America. Each of the states are sovereign. We're independent. And within our states we have the ability, and the right really, to govern ourselves. The 10th Amendment recognizes that while we are united within a country, the states really have the primary obligation of governing themselves. So when we talk about sovereignty, really we're talking about independence. Not independence such that we have no dependency at all between federal and state governments. That could never be. There ought to be an interdependency, and there is. And I'm not trying to usurp that. But what I am hoping to do is to shine some light on that 10th Amendment such that we understand that Nebraska is an independent state. We have the ability to govern ourselves. And those powers not specifically enumerated by the Constitution to the federal government, not prohibited to the states, fall to the states. That's what the 10th Amendment says, basically. So that's what it means to me.
And that was pretty much due to the fact that most of the Founding Fathers believed that it's important to keep the power closer to the people. It's far easier for people to, address their government officials the closer they are to them.
Right. There is, across the varying fields of study, there is a principle of subsidiarity. Within this, I've studied in the sciences, and there is this general principle of subsidiarity that exists even in the sciences. Again, it's very understandable to people. Where the problem exists, those who are closest to the problem are most equipped to solve it. So we hear rhetorical terms like local control, and we tend to use those terms so much that people seem to forget what the term really means. Local control really means something. It means those who are closest to the problems, the issues, and the things that have to be solved within a community. Those closest to it generally are the ones most equipped to come up with solutions. So local control, principle of subsidiarity, they're all adequate principles that are expressed in one way, shape, or form within the 10th Amendment. It's not an absolute, and I talked about that a little bit earlier. The states do not fall under as a political subdivision of the national government, the federal government. That's not how we were structured. But that general principle of subsidiarity holds true within our governing structure. And so, for instance, here in Nebraska, we have 49 state senators, and we each represent anywhere from 35,000 to maybe 40,000 Nebraskans. And so those individuals who I represent have access to me. And it's possible. It's possible for 35 or 40,000 people to be able to see me and read and email me and call me. And my children and I were playing soccer in our backyard the other day, and some folks walked by and recognized who I was, and we sat there and we talked for a little while. That's the idea. And in Nebraska, we have a pretty good thing going. We like to be able to govern ourselves, and that's part of what I'm talking about with the 10th Amendment. It seems that there are elements coming out of the federal government, not just recently, over the course of many years, which really usurp the volition of the people of Nebraska to govern ourselves through our own elected structure. So yeah, you touch on some good points that hopefully we can bring to light, elucidate a little bit more when we hopefully have some discussion on this issue.
Well, then the next question will be, what is the purpose of the Nebraska State Sovereignty Resolution?
Really what I'm trying to do is to shine some light on the 10th Amendment. At the end of the day, there could be a number of different ways that one could construe a resolution talking about the independence or the sovereignty of a given state. And indeed, this is something that's occurring all across our country. States are taking it upon themselves to reassert their own rights as individual states. I have been receiving emails from people across Nebraska, from constituents and people who aren't in my district. I've also received contacts from people even outside of the state. And I've been receiving them here for the past few years. I've been in the legislature for 3 years now. And finally, it's something that I think that enough people have an interest in, that we ought to have some debate. And in Nebraska, the arena of ideas is our legislature. And that is where the people of Nebraska are able to talk about the burning issues of the day. And I think that this would be categorized as one of those issues out there that people really have questions on. I know that just from correspondence and communication in my office. So what I'm trying to do here is to open up some discussion on what the 10th Amendment means and how Nebraska interacts with the federal government. It seems that we're on autopilot and have forgotten that there's a 10th Amendment, and I'm hopeful that we can have a meaningful discussion as to what it means for us.
Yes, one thing you mentioned briefly is talking about other states, and it's something I've been following this issue fairly closely. And yeah, I think the people need to know you're not just some radical here in Nebraska. This is going on all over the country, and there are numerous states that have proposed and even passed similar resolutions. Correct?
Yeah. This is something that has been going on in other states. And incidentally, I'll share some insight with you here. As soon as I came into the legislature, I started to receive ideas and feedback from people with ideas themselves. What bills could be brought forward, what resolutions, what initiatives I might undertake on their behalf. And I think I can share this as pretty overwhelming. I'm a dad, a small business owner, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I mean, I'm not any different than most everyone in Nebraska. And so I came into this building and really was overwhelmed by the amount of communication. Well, one particular topic that has been consistent is this idea of sovereignty.